Hey, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at the Jada Toys Street Fighter II Dhalsim figure. So Dhalsim first appeared in Street Fighter II The World Warrior in 1991. Born in India on November 22nd, 1952, a mystical yogi who enters the World Warrior tournament against his pacifist beliefs to raise money for his poor village. Fighting style is an esoteric yoga style, and he likes meditation, curry, elephants, protecting his village, and dislikes sweets, meats, violence, and corrupted powers. His abilities include stretching limbs, levitation, teleportation, and fire breathing. The box art's pretty cool. It's the arcade cabinet with the background being from his stage from Street Fighter II, which is awesome. But let's get this figure free from this really awesome plastic prison and see what we think about Dhalsim. So I'm so excited to have this figure. I think he looks fantastic, and I'm a huge fan of Street Fighter II and of Dhalsim, and he looks fantastic, and he feels great, and they're just doing really good stuff over there at Jada, and I'm very happy that they are giving us characters like Dhalsim and Fei Long early on in the line, because those tend to be the figures that have been later in lines if they get done at all. And I believe the last time we got a Dhalsim figure was with the Soda line, and he looked a little bit different. He looked great for the time and everything, but there was something about the tail end of that line where the quality control wasn't great. So I got rid of mine and have been eagerly anticipating this figure, and he is satisfying all of my expectations. So the paint looks great, the sculpt looks excellent, and I am very taken with this. And he's got metal earrings, which are always a welcome addition. And, well, they might be plastic, but nevertheless, they look metal, which is, cool and shiny. Everything about this. Now, I know that he's using some parts reuse, and that's to be expected, but the way that they do it with the paint and sculpt and the shading and everything, he still looks like he maintains his somewhat emaciated look. It's not too exaggerated, but it's enough to where it's still reminiscent of that look from his appearance in Street Fighter 2, but not enough to where he's like sickly, if that makes any sense. And so that's really cool. I gotta say though, the skulls on the necklace, they do look okay, but I feel like they could have been better. But it's a minor nitpick. And who knows, like maybe later in the interview I'll think differently, but just fresh out the box, they look good, but at the same time, I think they could have possibly been better, but nevertheless, the figure itself is still great. And then the face sculpt looks excellent, and I'm very happy with this figure so far, fresh out the box. So Dhalsim comes with 2 interchangeable heads, one scowling and one yelling. Probably yelling Yoga Flame or Yoga something. 4 interchangeable hands. 2 interchangeable extended bendy arms. 2 interchangeable extended bendy legs. And 1 effect stand. All right, so let's take a look at the articulation you're going to get out of Dhalsim. So starting at the head, you get 360 at the head. And he can look up a really good amount. He can look down a really good distance. He has some neck articulation there too, inside the chest area, which gives you a lot of wiggle room there, and some more dynamic poses with the head. You get a butterfly joint at the shoulder, as well as 360 at the shoulder, and then up and down at the shoulder as well, so tons of range of movement there. You also get 360 at the bicep, which is neat because that's where you unplug it to plug in the stretchy parts. You get double jointed elbows. You get a 360 at the wrist, as well as hinge action at the wrist. So there's all that. You got some wiggle room in the chest area, front and back, a little bit of side to side, but the most of the motion you're going to get is in the waist, which is really cool. And the way it's designed is like fascinating because he can just like go way back, which is wild. And he can also go forward a really good distance, but it makes sense given his character is, bendy and, all yogi and all kinds of weird poses and things like that you wouldn't think you'd be possible, but here we are. So you also get 360 at the waist, which is cool. It clicks on mine, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. It seems like that's kind of like supposed to do it, so that's cool. And so lots of wiggle room there. The legs, he's got an just astounding split. I don't know what to call this. It's not radius, I guess. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you would call that. And then maybe range. Maybe that's what the word I was looking for. He can kick forward, pretty good. That's fine. And he can kick back like usual. That's pretty good. He's not impeded by his shorts, which they're a soft rubber. So with the little bit that he is, you can move it around and adjust it. The legs at the middle of the thigh is 360, and that's because that's where you would unplug it. Let's see if I can do that. There we go. It's where you insert the bendy leg if you need to. But that's 360 right there. You get double jointed knees, and you also get an ankle rocker. So that's a lot of fun. Get a ton of motion there. And if I'm not mistaken, that is all the articulation that you're going to get out of Dhalsim. So according to the streetfighter.fandom.com site, Dhalsim generally stands around 5'9" and weighs around 106 pounds. This figure stands at just over 6 inches tall and weighs just over 2 ounces. So now let's see how he compares to some other figures you might have in your collection. Here he is with Storm Collectibles Sub-Zero and McFarlane's Kotal Khan. Here he is with NECA's 1987 animated series April 2.0 and Marvel Legends Cyclops. Here he is with Figma's Link and Jada Toys Mega Man. Here he is with the NECA knockoff colored bandana Michelangelo and the NECA Return to New York Michelangelo. Here he is with the Super 7 Donatello TMNT Ultimates and the NECA 1987 animated series Raphael. Here he is with the Hasbro Power Rangers Lightning Collection Black Mighty Morphin Ranger and Mattel's Masterverse Hordak. Here he is with NECA's Alf and SH Figuarts Kamen Rider Demons. Here he is with SH Figuarts Chun-Li and Akuma. Here he is with Jakks Pacific's Agent Peely and the Loyal Subjects Rocketeer. Here he is with Soda's Guile and Adon. Here he is with Jada Toys Fei Long and Ken Masters. And here he is with Soda's T-Hawk and Sagat. So as a kid, I remember not having a lot of money, and when I could get a video game or buy a video game, I had to choose very carefully. My thought going into Street Fighter 2 was they have 8 playable characters, so that was 8 stories I could go through the game and get 8 different stories, as well as be able to play with my friends if need be. And so that would seem like a worthwhile investment. And so I definitely owned this game as a child and spent an ungodly amount of time playing it. And Dhalsim was definitely one of my favorites. He was such an interesting design of a character, just looks alone. Then also just to play as him because he was so floaty and then had the stretchy limbs and then the fireballs on top of that. And then eventually you got the teleportation, which was even cooler. And yeah, there was just so much coolness and uniqueness about Dhalsim's character that fascinated me as a kid. His look in the video game is very emaciated and just to the point where it's pretty obnoxious. I do have nostalgia for it, but again, I do really appreciate the updated looks that he has received. But in regards to just this figure, I think the figure itself is excellent. I think he looks awesome. Now, granted, he is just practically naked with the exception of the shorts and the wraps on the wrist and ankles. Nevertheless, he looks great. He's a great looking action figure. And I think Jada is knocking it out of the park with these figures. However, in comparison to some of the other Dhalsim figures we've had in the past, which I think, Well, I mean, I know that G.I. Joe put out, the 3 3/4 inch Dhalsim, and I think I had him back in the day, but I don't have him now. But I definitely had the Soda Dhalsim figure that they put out like forever ago. And he was really neat. But by the time Dhalsim came out, I seem to recall that like either they switched manufacturers or something happened, and the quality with the joints especially kind of went downhill. And it wasn't long before that line was done after Dhalsim came out. But as far as a sculpt, the likeness was excellent because he was super emaciated and just very weirdly proportioned with his limbs. Yeah, you could pose him in certain ways that would make him look right, but he still just, especially in the arms, it just looked odd. But as soon as I heard that Jada was going to be making him, I went ahead and sold mine because I just knew based on what they were already putting out and promising that I would probably like this version better than that one. And it turns out that I do. Jada's version could probably use a little bit of shading in the paint to give more definition to the muscles, but it's not necessarily needed. It's just in comparison to the Soda figure that could have helped with that. But everything else, he looks really good, and I like him. I don't need my Dhalsim to be that emaciated. Now, that being said, I thought at first that this was just going to be a reuse of the Fei Long body, but upon further inspection, I think that at the very least, I think the lower abs, that's a different piece altogether. And I also think that the chest is a different piece that's slightly smaller, but it's kind of hard to tell. But then on the back, you can see on the back of Fei Long, where it goes to the base of his neck, there is it kind of creates a triangle, but Dhalsim's kind of creates like an arrow crease up there. That leads me to believe that this is a different torso altogether. And then when you put them like right in front of each other, you can see that Dhalsim's waist is considerably thinner than Fei Long's. And that's awesome because he definitely is a thin character. As far as looks go, I think he's great. I think he's fun and he looks awesome. The yelling face is probably my favorite. He's just got so much character in that face and the white eyes. And then the metal earrings are just excellent. That mixed media just puts it over the top for me. And just because they shine, oh, it's so good. And they could have easily just painted something and just painted it silver and just called it a day. But the fact that they're metal, are they real metal? I don't know if they're real metal or not. I don't have a magnet near me at the moment. And then the rope that they use for the necklace is also really cool. The only gripe that I've got as far as that is concerned is that the skulls are a little weird, especially compared to the Soda figure, where Soda's had like big ass skulls and they were full skulls. These are half like skulls cut in half. I think they look good on his neck better than the other Soda version does, but it's still kind of weird. But I think overall, it was the right choice. I think they did a good job. They could use a little bit of blackwash to make them stand out a little bit more, but I think overall they work really well with the overall look of the figure. I do wish that the rings on the hands were actual metal, but they are just plastic that are painted silver, and they look fine. They're okay, but and you could probably easily replace them, cut them and then put a real one on there. But I'm probably not going to do that. But it's if you need to, you can. But that's just a minor nitpick. And then again, the texture on the shorts, the texture on the clothes in these Jada figures is just really neat. Like it just adds a little extra to the feel of these figures. And I know that I have some viewers, listeners who are visually impaired, and I think that having texture on these clothes really could probably do something, extra for them too, because, not only can you see it, and if you can't see, then you can feel it and get like an extra layer of, appreciation for the figure and the design that went into it. And I think that's rad. But the one thing I was not expecting was the bendy arms and legs. I thought they were just going to be outstretched and that's it. And I would have been fine with that. these are really well done, and they're a lot of fun. The fact I was not expecting them to be as bendy as what they actually are. It just gives you so much more posability with this figure, and just a lot of fun. Now, I did see some people complaining about how the feet and more specifically the hands are not interchangeable on the stretched limbs. And I get it. You know, you would like to be able to do that. And that makes sense. But I don't think it's really necessary, because there's only so much you can do with a foot, at least as far as I know. And then with the hands, he's only ever doing that to punch people. I don't think he ever has the open hand to do anything when he's stretching it out. So yeah, I don't know. But I understand the want to have it. I just don't think it was necessary. Now, my only complaints about this figure are, one, that he doesn't come with any fireballs. Now, the fact that some of the other characters in this line do come with fireballs, like you can use that to kind of supplement, and that's fine, and I'm okay with that. And plus, like with action figures, you know, we have plenty of other fire effects that we can get and to make it work. It just would have been neat to have some. And I think if you had to choose between the stretchy limbs or the fireball, I think the stretchy limbs were the right choice to go with for this figure. But it would have been nice if we could have gotten, you know, an extra fireball or something, some yoga flames, you know what I'm saying? Besides that, the other thing I wish they would have included would be an adapter for the stand to allow him to sit on it and levitate. Now, you can make it work with what's there, but you got to fidget with it for a while and kind of find the right balance for it. But you can make it work. I just wish it would have been a little bit easier. That all being said, this figure is fantastic. He was one of my most wanted figures from this line, and I think they nailed it. And I'm so excited to have a Dhalsim figure that I'm not afraid to pose for fear of breaking him in my collection. So if you're a fan of Street Fighter and you're also an action figure collector, then you need to get this figure. You need to be collecting this line because it's amazing so far. Everything I got from him is just excellent. Or if you collect action figures based on video game characters in general, just regardless of what game it is, then Dhalsim will go well in that shelf. Or if you're looking to expand your stretchy fictional character action figure shelf of Mr. Fantastic, Elastic Man, Plastic Man, Clayface, those types of characters, it won't be a far stretch for Dhalsim to fit right in on that shelf. All right, well, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, hit subscribe. And tell me all your thoughts on Dhalsim and Street Fighter, and let me know in the comments. And until then, else time.